everyone, it's Gretchen here, ready to make some Easter cards. Easter is fast approaching. I can't believe we're towards the end of March already. So it is definitely time. I just noticed that I lost a gem off of my card here, so I'm going to replace it. I'm sure it was one I found on my slipper or my sweater recently. We're going to be coloring and cutting out today, so make sure you have your markers or colored pencils and scissors ready. You may need your scoreboard if your cards are not scored, but I think I mailed most of them out this time, so they probably are. And if you notice, all three are different, but I've kind of gone with a similar theme with the circle punched out. The set of Close to My Heart has a set of die cut circles, and they come in a variety. The set has a variety of circles sizes. This is the 2-inch size. So if you were interested in getting those to make more circles in the future, they could also, if you have a punch or a Cricut, those are other ways that you can make circles in your cardstock. Okay, I'm just going to grab some scrap paper. The scrap paper allows you to test the color of your markers, but it also gives you a nice surface to work on when you're coloring. Often, like my cutting board here has a lot of cuts in it, and it's gotten pretty textured. And if I was to color directly on that, especially with a colored pencil, that texture might come into my coloring. So I want to make sure I have a nice cushioned surface to work on. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get out my stack of supplies for each card. And then, keep them all in a stack here with the envelope. And that way we can color all of the images first. And then assemble everything afterwards. So if you notice, I made good use of the circle I punched out of the cardstock here by stamping the image on them. Oops. Okay, so let's go ahead and color the egg first. And I used my Tri-Blend alcohol ink markers, but you can use any other kind of markers you want, or like I said, colored pencils or even watercolors, or you can, stamp them on colored paper or anything like that. Just remember, if you are going to use the alcohol ink markers, that you do need an ink to stamp your stamped image that's going to not run when the markers touch the ink. And in our case, I used the Intense Black ink pad, and it is a solvent-based ink. So that is the best kind of ink to use with the alcohol markers. If you're using a water-based marker, you're okay using a water-based ink and our regular black ink pad when all our colors are water-based ink. So those work best for water-based markers. And those kinds of markers are like there's a million brands, but most markers you'd find in a craft store or a big box store are going to be water based. And they're, in general, the less expensive markers. So I'm going to start with the blue, which is in the middle of the egg here. And the marker I used is the Ice Blue Blend. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the lightest color. With alcohol markers and blending, there's not going to be a lot of blending on these, except when we get to the chicks, just because the spaces are so small. But when you do blend, you want to start with the lighter color and then work your way up to the darker colors, and then you can go back down to the lighter colors again if you are looking to blend and shade more. So I'm just coloring this whole area above and below the zigzag, and to the wiggly line there in the blue. Now, if you wanted a much deeper blue, you could then now go to the medium shade. I'm going to stay with the light color, and I am basically just coloring right next to the zigzag. And this is one of the nice things about the alcohol markers. The color layers. So even though we're still using the light shade, it's adding more color to our surface. So hopefully you can see. That's really hard to see in the camera. Okay, well it's getting blurry, but I was all right, you can't really see it. Maybe you can see it on the finished one because it's dry. Yeah, you can see it a little better, but you can see that this the color right next to the zigzag is a little darker, and it's only slightly darker because I used the light color ink again. And it's because I didn't want a really big difference. But if I go over it a third time, it will get even darker. So maybe that is more noticeable. Not really. Sorry about that. The light's just not picking that up. So it's really up to you. I mean, if you want, that's like a more subtle color change. If you wanted a bolder color change, you can use the medium or even the dark shade. I'm now going to use the jade green. And again, I'm just going to use the light one. I liked, the paper we're using in the background here, which is the spring collection, is all kind of pastel colors. So I kind of stuck with the lighter shades of these because, I wanted to bring out those pastels. So this section I'm coloring is I'm going to go right above and below that blue section. So between the curvy line and the bold black solid line. And I am not trying to and I kind of went outside the line there. I'm not trying to go over the same section a lot because, you know, like I said, when you go over it over and over again, it's going to get darker. So I'm just, you know, coloring, just trying to fill in that color with not overlapping. Now, I did go outside the line a little bit. It's not bad. I'm not too worried about, but I'm going to show you a little tip here in case that happens to you. And this is a white gel pen. And if you, and this is in any case, any coloring with the alcohol markers, might work with the water-based markers too. I'm not sure. I just got to get my ink going. I'm going to color with my white gel pen right over that area that I went outside the line. And that's going to cover up the little area, and it erases that mistake. So I'm you know, just doing those two sections with the light color of the jade. I am not going to shade it at all. It's a small area. It doesn't need shading. All right. The next color is the yellow, and this is actually called Citrus Blend. And I am going to color this area with the dots. So all around the dots. I'm going to draw that line, that curved line of the egg that's not there. And hopefully I won't go out of the area again. Just making sure that whole area is filled up with the yellow. It's funny when I look at the camera, it looks like these dots are green, but they're not. I haven't actually colored them yet. For the very bottom section of the egg, I'm using the light green blend, and I'm using the lightest color again. So if you're just using your own set of markers or colored pencils, just pick pastel-y colors that are similar, or you can go totally different if you want. I was trying to pick out colors that were in the paper, but then would also stand out from the pink. All right, and I did put pink on here. This is the Bright Pink Blend, and okay, I just wanted to test that because as you can see on the sample, it is a very bright pink, and I wasn't, well, again, it's not really coming up really well, but it's a really bright pink, and I didn't know if the light end of the marker really was the right pink, but it is. And I am just filling in each of those dots with the bright pink, and it does look so much more vibrant in person than it does on the camera. So that's all we need to do to color the egg. And now we're going to move on to the first chick. This is the chick with the eggshell on his head. And let's go ahead and start with that pink again. And I'm going to color in the pink dots again, just like we did on the egg. And like 4 little pink dots here near the top of the eggshell. And I'm going to take that out. See the tip of the marker? That's really how bright pink this marker is. I know you can't really see it. You could see it on this card a little better, that it's just when the camera is focusing on all the black and not picking up that pink. Okay, and then I am going to use that light green blend again, and the lightest shade, and I'm going to do this little small oval area that's at the very top of the eggshell above the pink dots. And I'm sure you can barely see that on the camera too, but you can see it, I think, a little better on here because the color, the paper kind of brings out that color a little more. And then we're going to use the ice blue, and we're going to color in that area under the dots above the next black line. And then I'm going to use my jade green. And again, I'm just using the lightest colors on all of these. And I'm going to color in the rest of the eggshell, which is the area all around the dots. And I'm just kind of coloring an outline around the area and then filling it in. That way I make sure I get all the tips around the broken shell. One thing to note when you are using the intense black ink and the alcohol markers, you do want the ink to dry a bit. You can use your heat gun to help it dry, or you could just stamp it ahead of coloring. Obviously, these were all stamped weeks before this class here, so you've got plenty of drying time. All right, so this is the first time we're going to use this marker. It's Orange Blend, and I'm just, again, using the light shade, and this is just for his little tiny beak. I know when I move it up, the autofocus doesn't adjust quickly enough, but you can hopefully see the color well. And then we're going to go back to our citrus blend for the chick itself. So I'm going to do I like to break the area down into smaller areas. So I going to color his wings first because those are small areas. And then the whole rest of him is one big area. So again, like I did on the inside of the egg, I'm kind of outlining these jags of the broken, just along the jagged line, so I make sure I get into all those points. And one of the nice things about the alcohol markers is that they blend really well. And sometimes when you're first coloring, you can see the strokes. But if you go over them a couple of times, it will make the color deeper. But it will disguise those stroke marks. They'll blend in together. I'm now going into the medium color, and I'm gonna kind of outline them. Add some deeper yellow around the outside of his body and right on his wing here where the body kind of, where it would be a shadow. And then here on his body underneath this wing, again, where there should be like a shadow. And under that eggshell, it's going to be, and under his beak, because all that area, if the light was hitting it, would be under shadow. And then I'm going to go back with my lighter color, and I'm going to blend those edges a little bit. And you can do the same thing with a colored pencil. If you had two different colored pencils, or you could just use one pencil and press harder in the area where you want a deeper color and then, lighten up, that's going to give you the same kind of results. So there you go. You can see, I think it looks like he's a little too light in the center now, so I'm going to go ahead and add some more color. The thing with the shading is it's all experimentation, and if you don't like how it comes out, keep playing. And now it's not going to look like he's as shaded as much, but that's okay. I'm going to add a little more of the medium color underneath this eggshell and just underneath the wing, and see how that looks. The yellow is tough. Be careful not to go over the black as much. Like I said, the ink has had plenty of time to dry, but still sometimes it can get a little muddy looking. If you notice on my sample over here, it's a, whoops, got too much stuff in my hand. It's a little muddy looking because I picked up some of that ink because I stamped it and then colored it right away. So I didn't get a lot of shading on him, but he's still very cute. He's a really cartoony, he's not a realistic looking chick, so it's not like you need a realistic coloring technique. And then we're going to go ahead and color our last chick who's sitting in the eggshell. And I'm going to go ahead and use the yellow first since I have it out already. Just making sure. It's sometimes I'm opening the right. I'm going to actually just start with the medium color on here since I liked the medium color better than the lighter. Just want to make sure I'm opening the right side. Just outlining him, and then outline the beak, and then filling it in. And then I can just add a little more, another line of kind of shading underneath the beak and on his wings, and maybe just next to that eggshell. It's very subtle. I'm going to use my orange marker again, just color in his beak. And then we're going to go back to that bright pink and color the bottommost section of the eggshell. These stamps are nice because you can color them in and have fun, but there's not tons of area to color in, so it doesn't take you forever. This is an older stamp set, but there is a Easter stamp set in the current catalog that has a similar feel to it, and it has both bunnies and chicks, and I think maybe a lamb too. I got my ice blue. I'll dig out that catalog after we're done coloring here to show you, in case you were interested. So I just colored that middle section there that had the dots in it. So you can really see the bright pink on this guy, even though you couldn't see it on the dots. And then I'm going to use the jade green to fill in the last section. I'm going to outline this section. The more like little areas like these pokey ones are there, you want to really make sure you get color in all the sections, which is why I'm outlining like that. But those smoother curved sections, it didn't matter as much. I'm going over it again because I didn't color evenly over the whole section, so I wanted it to blend better. And it does blend better if you cover the whole section the second time and not just areas, because then you might get patchiness. So you can see now that you can't really see those stroke marks that I could see the first time I colored over it. These inks blend very nicely. And then all we're going to do is cut them out. And I used my standard, like a 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch spacing. I left that much of the white cardstock as a border around the images. There's a couple little fussy spaces around his wings and his little cowlick up here, but it's not too bad. And like I've said before, like when you get up here, sometimes it's easier to just cut off the excess, and then you don't have to maneuver your scissors around it. So you might find that easier to cut off little sections as you go along. Now, your kit included supplies to make 2 of each of these cards, but we're only going to make 1 in class here, 1 of each, and then you can go ahead and make your other one. The only one that there's a slight difference on is this one, and I'm going to show you that when we get to it. When we get to that spot, I'll show you the difference. Because I'm not sure, you may pull out one version or the other first, but it's really easy. And then sometimes, like these little fussy areas, you leave a little extra pointy area of the white cardstock that you don't need. So you could always go back and trim those if you'd like. But, so there's that guy. And I'm going to do this guy next. The egg shape was cut out on the Cricut. This set had a coordinating Cricut shape for the egg. So you don't have to cut out that guy, but obviously it's an easy shape. So if you had to, it wouldn't be too bad. If they, this stamp set was from before the days they did all the thin cuts, but I bet if they put out, I have to look if the new Easter one has coordinating thin cuts, but I'm guessing it does, and this one would if it was re-released today. So there's that guy. And like I said, if you want, bolder colors, you could just use darker shades of the markers, or press harder with your colored pencils to get that. All right. So I'm going to grab under my computer, but I'm going to try to grab that catalog so I can show you the current Easter set if you were interested. Hopefully not dislodging any wires here. There's also some religious Easter sets. So yeah. And yes, it does come with thin cuts. Whoops. So this is the current set. And it's on sale right now. All stamp sets are on sale right now if you're interested. So, it's really cute. It's got all the little creatures and lots of sentiments. And, some of them are pretty similar in size. So you got lots of selections here to choose from. And then also the Stamp of the Month set this month is Precious Moments with these cute hedgehogs, koalas, and kangaroos. So if you're interested in that, it's with a $50 purchase. And if you are interested in any stamp sets, if you've been eyeing them, now is the time to buy because, like I said, they're all on sale for different amounts off. So it's a fun time to go shopping. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put the egg together first. These are all really fairly simple to assemble. I want to make sure I got all my pieces. All right, so we're going to use the lighter side. We often use the darker side. So we're going to use the lighter side of this cardstock. So the lighter side will be facing you when you score. And you're going to put the long side, the 11-inch side, toward along the top of your scoreboard. And you're going to score at 5.5 inches. And that is the same measurement for all of the cards. They're all 4 by 5.5. And like I said, I think you guys all had ones that were already scored and folded. So you probably don't have to do too much of that. we are going to put on this polka dotted paper. Never put your adhesive on over the card. All right. And what we're going to do is on these cards, I know I usually use an 1/8 inch border. On these cards, we used a 1/4 inch border. So you are going to position it towards the left. This is where the folded edge of the card is on the left. And you're going to put a 1/4 inch border around the top, the left, and the bottom. So all three sides, it should be equidistant. And then your extra area will be on the right here. And then for the rest of the pieces, we're going to use our foam tape. So I'm going to go ahead and turn over my glitter paper. The cardstock we use is Mulberry. The glitter paper we used is Mulberry. And I'm going to put foam tape on my egg, on my glitter paper, and on my sentiment. Now, if you'll notice that the sentiment is overlapping the glitter paper, so on this edge here, where the overlap is, the Easter side, I am not going to put foam tape because I don't want another layer. I'm going to put it on this edge and in the center, and then I'm going to add a little bit of double-sided adhesive to that edge. Now, you saw when I picked it up, it didn't stick down really well because that's what it's sticking to glitter paper. So when you put that down, you just want to give it a little extra press it down so it sticks. Things don't stick to the glitter paper quite as well as regular cardstock. So like I said, it's going to be Easter side. So if I turn it face up, it's going to be the right edge. I'm going to put a couple strips there so maybe it will stick better. So put a little bit of the double-sided adhesive there. I missed a spot. And then I'll put the foam tape on the middle and the left. So on the left in the middle there. Oops. And then what I'm going to do on the glitter paper, I'm going to put pieces of foam tape on, like the north, south, east, west areas of the compass, or 12, 3, 6, 9, and then also put a piece in each corner. And that should give it enough support. Got it. All right, let me push everything up because I'm working too close to myself here. Okay. And then I'm going to put some on my egg as well. Aside for now, and then we just have to take off our backing and assemble. So this piece is going to go centered on the piece of our pattern paper with the dots, and we'll have a nice border around the edge, as well as I just need to move this closer to me so I can see. Nice even 1/4 inch border around all 4 sides. And then we're going to put our egg right smack in the middle of that circle. And then our sentiment, we're going to overlap that glitter paper. We're going to put it in the bottom right corner. And now we're just going to put some, a couple of gems on here. And, you know, I like to add a little bit of glue, especially since I already lost one on my sample card. So I'm just putting 3 dots in a triangle. Above that sentiment. And I'm just putting my, oops, that was the wrong gem I picked up, but that's okay. And then I'm going to put my glitter gems on those dots. And that's all it is to it. All right, so next we will assemble our Lagoon card. That's the color of the cardstock. That teal color is called Lagoon. And again, this one is, we're going to have the darker color on the outside. So if you need to score it, it gets put in your scoreboard with the darker side facing you, the 11-inch side across the top, and scored at 5.5 inches. We're going to do a couple of things to these pieces first before we put them down. And I'm just checking my measurements. I always like to check before I give them to you. Okay, so we are going to make a banner out of this piece of glitter paper. What I'm going to do is, can't really see since it's white on white, so let me put it on the cutting board so there's some contrast. The banner is 1 inch tall. So what we're going to do is turn it over from one edge, one short edge. We're going to measure in 1/2 inch, and we're going to measure down 1/2 inch. And that will put, and make a dot. And that will put the dot in the center, height-wise, top and bottom, 1/2 inch, and then 1/2 inch from the edge. And then we're going to go ahead and cut our dovetail. So we will cut And you can do this with scissors. You can do this with a craft knife and a ruler. You don't even have to make the dot if you don't want to, or you can make the dot and not use a ruler to measure it if you're good at spacing. But we're going to cut from one corner to the dot and the other corner to the dot, and that makes us a beautiful banner, which is actually going to go this way on the card. We're going to do the same thing on our yellow paper with our sentiment on it, except that this piece is 3/4 of an inch tall, so the halfway point top to bottom is 3/8, and we're also going to come in 3/8 inch from the edge. I'm going to, instead of drawing it on the back, I'm actually going to draw it on the front, because I want to make sure that I stamped that sentiment okay, and that my dot isn't going to be too close to it. So I'm going to actually adjust it, and I'm going to make my dot not exactly 3/8 of an inch in, more than 1/4, but so, you know, you just don't want that dot where your sentiment is, because you don't want to cut it off. And if you make your mark with a pencil, then if you don't quite hit it and cut it off, you can just erase it. And so again, you cut from the corner to the dot, from the other corner to the dot, and there you go. You've got a nice banner. And I am seeing my pencil mark, so I'm just going to erase that. The other thing we're going to do here is we're going to draw this stitched line around our white cardstock. Now, you don't need to draw this if you don't want to. Another option is to actually sew it on a sewing machine, although I would never sew around that circle. So, I mean, you could sew with thread or without thread to just create dots. The stitched look is very popular, and it's on a lot of things, and sometimes we have stamps, and we actually have die cuts that will make the kind of stitched impression. So if you like this look, there are a lot of different options out there. So I'm going to draw this line about 1/8. I'm using a thin Sharpie. You can use any kind of black marker. You just want a thin marker or pen. It doesn't have to even be black. If you're using your other markers and you don't have a black one handy, I meant to put it on the supply list, and now I'm questioning, did I actually put it on the supply list? So I apologize if you didn't have it. You can use any color. It would look really pretty if you had a teal or a green color, or even a bright pink. That would stand out nicely too. I'm going to draw the lines about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. You can use a ruler if you like. I would just say test it first if you're going to use a ruler, because sometimes I'm going to just do it on my scrap paper here. Sometimes, depending on the ink you're using for your marker, it'll bleed next to the marker. In this case, it's not really bleeding. But I am, because of the way I'm putting, like I'm putting more pressure at the beginning and the end of each line, it's kind of, you actually kind of get that point of the marker at the top and the bottom of the line. It's fine if you like that look. And maybe that's just me. So you can practice a couple of different ways of doing this. I will tell you, however, the secret is to not try to make them perfectly spaced and perfectly sized. Don't use a ruler and measure between every mark to do it. If you do that, and most of them are exactly the same, and only the occasional one is imperfect, it will stand out like a sore thumb. If you are just really casual about the way you do it, and everyone is slightly different, it'll actually look better because it won't, it won't be perfect, perfect, perfect. Oh my God, I can tell that one's not perfect. And you'll get into a rhythm of doing this. And if you feel more comfortable, grab a piece of scrap paper and practice before you do it on your good one. You also have two sides of cardstock, both white. So if you don't like one, you can try the other one. And like I said, I'm just going to eyeball about 1/8 of an inch. I always test to make sure my pen is working before I start. And I'm starting about 1/8 of an inch from the corner. And I'm just making little stitched lines all the way down the side. Now, if you notice, this one has a little more space, but it wasn't enough space to put another one unless it was really short, which I thought might look a little weird. So I'm just going to start when I go around the corner, I'm just going to start right there in the corner. And then it just looks like the space was deliberately left, because there wasn't room for another stitch. And the spacing does not need to be perfect. The stitches should not be all the same size. I find it a little easier if I do it faster rather than really slow. Because if you try to do it slow and deliberate, again, if you're really slow at drawing a straight line, they tend to be more wiggly. If you do it faster, you have less time to think about it, and it just goes a little smoother. That's my experience anyway. And I mean, if you like the look of a longer line, if you start drawing and they're longer than what I do, that's fine too. It's going to look good no matter what you do. It's just a little accent. And I turn the piece around as I'm working. Because I like to draw down instead of across, but and see, if you look, my lines are not all the same width. My spaces are not all perfect. It's supposed to be handmade. It's supposed to be, to use a trendy word, organic. It's not a machine that made it. Okay, so now we're going to go around the circle. The circle is sometimes a little trickier. Shorter lines, you don't have to curve them as much. Longer lines, you have to make sure you add the curve to them to kind of fit the curve around the circle. And you can see I'm turning my paper as I go around. And my spacing is not great on this. I got a little closer to the hole in some areas and a little farther away. But it doesn't matter because the overall look of it is just a cute accent. So I realize you may at this point have just practiced on scrap paper and may want to go back later. That's fine. So you may not want to finish assembling your card here, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. I know you can handle it. So the first piece that goes down is the green, kind of a chevron. Oh, time to change the roll of tape. The green kind of chevron print. And again, like we did on the last card, we're going to use, there's going to be a 1/4 inch border around all 4 sides of this one. It's going to get centered on the front of the card. Whoops. I've got a roll of tape that is being difficult here. Let's see if this is going to work for me. The background piece is ripping. It's kind of stuck down. Occasionally there's a roll that gets like that. Hopefully it's just that outside edge. All right. It's that piece that ripped off. Okay, so like I said, we're just going to center it on the front of the card, just the darker side of the paper, and a 1/4 inch border all the way around. And then the other pieces are going to be put on with foam tape, just like we did on the egg card. So I'm going to put on the black back of my white cardstock, my chick, and my glitter banner. And we'll put the sentiment banner on afterwards because I'll show you a little trick on the proper way to put the adhesive on that one. So just like we did on the egg card, I'm going to make sure I get a piece of foam tape at the top, bottom, and 2 sides of the circle, so I get a lot of support. And then I'm going to put them in the 4 corner of the paper. And then this paper is, this piece is a little bigger than that glitter paper, so I'm just going to add a couple more pieces in the blank area to make sure that I've got actually, I guess I'm going to put 3 more pieces on just to make sure we got enough support here. And then I'm going to put some on my egg, and actually the banner, I'm only going to put 1 piece of foam tape on. If you turn it over so that the dovetail is on the left, I'm only going to put 1 piece over here on the right and not that far in, because we actually attached it flat across the white piece. You only need that foam underneath where it's overhanging the green and the blue. So I'm going to cut a couple of pieces of this foam tape a little skinnier because I want to get it like on the tail and on the wing and on the feet, because those are some smaller areas, and I just want to make sure that the tape the foam tape gets in those areas. I'm just going to move this one up a little more so it's closer to the top. And that should do it. Okay, and then, like I said, on this banner here, the glitter banner, I put the foam tape here. On the rest of it, I'm going to put double-sided adhesive. Okay, so the first piece I'm going to put on is my white cardstock. If you don't like the stitched line, if you haven't already done it, or you don't want to do, you've tried it, but you don't want to do it again on the other card or in the future, we are going to do a little different coloring technique on the next card. So you might like that better. I just wanted to do something different on each of the cards so you can see what you liked. So that goes on the center of the card. And again, you have a 1/4 inch border around the white to see that green. And then we're going to put a chick right in the middle of the circle. Right there, smack in the center. And now we're going to put our first banner on, the glitter banner. And we're going to put that about 1/4 inch or maybe just a little higher up from the edge of the white cardstock. About 1/4 inch will do it. And you're going to put the straight edge against the edge of the card. Remember, it opens at the top. I should have said that from the beginning. But and then so your foam tape will be here in this area that's, you know, on the blue and the green, and then it's flat on the white cardstock. And then we're going to do our greeting banner on the yellow. What we're going to do is put a strip of adhesive, double-sided adhesive, along the bottom edge of that banner. So see, the greeting is here. We put the adhesive on the bottom edge. And then along the top edge, we're going to put a couple of little skinny pieces of foam tape. Because see, it overhangs. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to put that little skinny piece of foam tape right on the edge here. Because again, you want it where it overhangs the blue and green, but it's flat on top of the first banner, the glitter banner, and the white cardstock. Sorry, I got confused for a minute. I was thinking it was raised another level, but we don't really want to do that because if you're going to mail it, that's two layers of foam tape is a lot to mail. But if you only do the one, you're good. So this is the banner upside down. So I'm just putting that little piece, and I just want it in the top along the edge, because I only want a little piece, because see, it only you only have a little gap above the pink banner. So this right here, this is where you want that little piece of foam tape. And then I'm going to put another strip of adhesive my roll of tape is still giving me some issues. Okay, so basically I have adhesive everywhere but that one flat adhesive, and then that one little piece of foam tape in that corner there. And when I flip that over, sorry, flip that over, it's going to be in the top right corner. I'm going to remove that backing. And again, this banner, the bright edge, the straight edge, gets lined up with the edge of the card. I'm just making sure it's sticking down really well onto that glitter paper. And then it comes across. And in terms of spacing, you just want to make sure that the foam tape does not overlap your glitter banner, and you don't want to cover up your hole or your chick. You want to be below, preferably, your stitched line, since you worked so hard to create it. So it seems a little, that was a lot of explanation for the adhesive. It seems a little fussy, but hopefully you see what I'm talking about. And then it's not really difficult once you know the reasoning. You just don't want to put 2 layers of foam tape on top of each other. Unless, like I said, you're hand delivering it or you're putting it in a, you know, you're aware that more postage might have to be put on your envelope to get that through the mail. Okay, so our last card here, our third card, is this little chickie. And like I said, if you don't like the stitching, you might like this method better. I just inked the edges of my white cardstock with blue ink. I actually used a color, it's called Capri, but any light blue or turquoisey blue color will work. And not only did I go around the 4 edges of the white cardstock, but I went around the inside of the circle. Now, I used a blending tool like this. If you don't have one of these, you can use a sponge. A makeup sponge works. This one's dirty, obviously. Or you can even try your blending brush. Just be careful to only, if you're going to use the blending brush, don't go crazy with it. You just want the edge of it. So just be careful. And I'm just getting my ink out. So I used Capri. And this piece of white is slightly shorter than the other piece of white to accommodate the design of the sentiment. And the circle actually goes on the bottom of this one. So you don't need to put a ton of ink. It kind of depends. If you have a brand new sponge that you've never inked before, you're probably going to have to add more than me. But this sponge, as you can see, is well inked, so I don't have to add a lot of ink to it, but you can just tap some ink onto it and just brush it along the edge. And the more times you go over it, the more pressure you put on it, the more you notice I'm tilting it. If you're flatter, more ink is going to go on the inside. See, now this is I added a little more areas because I really wanted that blue to show up. So it really depends on, and again, when you're inking this, don't work over your good project, because as these sponges get used a lot, they do start to degrade, and the little pieces will come flying off, and you want them on your scrap paper. You don't want them on your good project. So see, The more you work it in, the more color you're going to get. So it just depends on what look you want. If you really want that color to stand out, or if you just want it to be subtle. Lighter, obviously, put a little bit ink, start lightly, and see how you like it. You can always add more. And then you can work your way around the inside of the circle as well. I don't do a lot of this technique on the cards because I don't know what color ink you guys have. So I don't want to require you to have a certain color, or you feel like you can't complete the card the way I made it look because you don't have the right color ink. This one, it doesn't matter so much, just a blue. But a lot of people like this technique for a lot of different designs. So that's all you have to do. Let me hold it up against the scrap paper. And you can see that nice blue outline. Always cover up your ink pad so you don't accidentally get your good pieces in it. And now we can assemble the card. Make sure you don't have any ink on your hands. Sometimes it can get a little messy. So wipe your hands off before you touch your good paper. It dries pretty quickly, but sometimes you'll get a little piece of ink on your hand and transfer it. So we're going to use our yellow cards pattern paper first, and put adhesive on the back of that. And this is going to get attached to the center of our card with the folded edge at the top. This is candy apple. Yeah, candy apple. And we used the dark side on the outside. So let me step back here. If you needed to score and fold it, you would put the dark side in your scoreboard with the 11-inch side across the top, score it 5.5 inches, and then fold. And then our yellow pattern paper gets centered on that card. And you'll have a 1/4 inch outline just like the rest of the cards. Okay, so this is where the difference in your two card sets occurs. So see this green ribbon? This is an older ribbon that I thought worked really nicely with the card. I did not have enough of it to give everybody 2 pieces for your 2 cards in your kit. So you got 1 card kit with this ribbon, and you've got 1 card kit with this piece of green pattern paper, and the green pattern paper is the same as in the last card we did. And so when you do your card that has the green paper, you're just going to put adhesive along the back of it, and it's going to stick flat onto your white cardstock, centered between the top of the cardstock and the top of the circle. And like I said, the circle is closer to the bottom on this card. So that's how your piece of pattern paper will look. This is the piece of ribbon for the card with the ribbon. And what we're going to do is turn our cardstock with the circle on it over. And this ribbon is about 1 inch wide. You're going to put right next to the edges. Here, let me draw this with a pencil so you can actually see it. So you're going to put about 1 inch of, it's a little long, of adhesive right now next to each edge on the back of your cardstock. So your adhesive is going to go right over where I drew those pencil lines. Doesn't matter if it's a little long. So you've got a little too much, because you're going to go ahead and put foam tape underneath that. Had some extra hanging down. So, oh, yep, you can see that the shine, that's where my adhesive is. I put it right over those pencil marks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it back over to the right side. I'm going to center my ribbon in that space between the top of the cardstock and the top of the circle. And then I'm going to fold one edge of the ribbon over, and it should go right over that line of adhesive you've put. And then I'm going to pull tightly, not too tight as to bow the cardstock, around the other edge. And that's how we attach our ribbon. Now, if you don't like that gap, you can see on my finished card, I've got that gap. If you don't like that, you can add adhesive underneath where this ribbon will lay. That's up to you. I would not recommend using glue. Glue will, the fabric of the ribbon will absorb that glue, and you'll get weird little marks where the glue is. But you can use a dry double-sided adhesive under there if you want to. But that's really all you need to keep it secure. And it just adds a little extra interest because it's on there loose. Well, not loose, but it's attached enough to keep it secure. All right. And now we're going to put foam tape on it. So we'll turn that over. We will also turn over our chick. And we will turn over our greeting. Just make sure you turn it over so it's right side up, because we'll do this right now. The first thing we'll do on the greeting is we'll put a line of double-sided adhesive just along the top, because you see it's going to get layered onto the top of the white cardstock, but the bottom needs foam tape, just like on those banners. So let's cut some foam tape. And I'm going to make sure my pieces are relatively skinny for that. And I'm just going to put a few pieces along the bottom edge. So this is my greeting. Turn it over. The top gets the adhesive. See where that shine is. And then the bottom gets some thinner pieces of foam tape. And then we can go ahead and put our our foam tape on our chick and our circle, our cardstock with the circle. And again, I'm cutting a skinny piece to kind of go into that where that wing is. Kind of misjudged that when I was looking at above. That's the problem with working white on white. So I'll just adjust that. Just want to, you know, make sure that that wing has a little bit of security behind it. And I'm going to put pieces of foam tape in the four corners of the cardstock, and you see it's overlapping that ribbon, and that's just fine. And then I'm also going to put them at the top, bottom, and two sides of the circle. And then I'm just going to put a couple extra pieces right down here just to give it a little more security. So those are all our pieces. And I'm going to put the white cardstock down first. When we attach this to the card, to the yellow panel, it's going to be aligned to the top. So you're going to place it so that it has a 1/4 inch border on the two sides and at the top, and the ribbon goes at the top. So centered left to right, and that same spacing at the top here. And you can see there's just there's an extra 1/4 inch of spacing at the bottom. And that is for our greeting, our sentiment, greeting, whatever. So when we put this down, we're going to put it about centered over that white cardstock. So half of it is overlapping and half of it is not. So that's where our flat double-sided adhesive was. Down here is where the foam tape is to make it level with the white cardstock. When you use the green paper instead of the ribbon up here at the top, use regular tape, regular double-sided adhesive, because you don't, it's going to go flat onto the white cardstock because the white cardstock has already got the foam tape on it. So you don't want to put another layer of foam tape. It'll just go flat on there. Now we'll put the chick right into the center of our circle. So cute. And now all we have left is our little flowers, our little glitter paper flowers. And these I just punched out of the glitter paper with this punch. This is a Fiskars punch. I've had it for a long time, so I don't know if it's still available. I think I got it at Joann's or Michael's or something. So if you like it, there's also I have a bigger one too. But any kind of flower, you could put a gem. If you had a little egg, it's just what I had and I thought it was cute. So I am going to put just a dot of glue on, and I want to make sure that this glue is coming out okay. And I'm going to put, if you're doing this, work over scrap paper, but I want you to be able to try to see a little bit. I'm putting a little dot of glue, teeny tiny dot of glue on the center of the flower. And can you see those bumps? And each petal. And I'm going to put the first one on first in the center. And I'm going to center it in the ribbon, both left to right and top to bottom. And I'm going to make sure that my petals, there's 6 petals, so I want one directly up and directly down. That's how I decided to put it on. Now, they also sell little tiny glue dots. You might find that easier. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing with the other 2, centering it in the space we have left. It definitely helps if you have a bottle of glue that has a teeny tiny opening like this one. All right, so again, I'm going to put it on the right side here. I'm going to have the petals facing up and down, one set of them anyway, and I'm just centering it in that space that's left between the edge of the flower and the edge of the cardstock. And I'm going to do that again with the third one. You can also go over this flower with your tape runner. You're going to get adhesive around the edges of the petal. So you'll just have to make sure you kind of push those back. I think I've shown you that. I'll show you in a minute. You might have an easier time with that. So again, put a petal up and down, and then I centered in that space on the ribbon that I had left between the edge and the edge of the flower, so that equally spaced the 3 flowers across across the space. Oh, you know what might be easier? And sorry about this. I should have thought of this. If you have one of these glue pens, these two-way glue by Zig, we sold them. Honestly, I don't remember if we still sell them, but you could get them in the craft stores. You can go ahead and, put them, that might be easier, to get glue over the whole flower. Or like I said, let me just punch a flower out here. So if you're having trouble, these might be options. So I got my flower here. I'm going to put my double-sided adhesive. This is going to be a little challenging because I punched it out of thin paper. The glitter paper you have is a little thicker. Now, the flower is stuck to my finger. And if you'll notice, there is some adhesive, see here, that's hanging off the edge. You just want to make sure you kind of take your fingers, or you can take like your, maybe not, maybe that's too thick. You want to push that adhesive back so that it's not showing. And this is probably a little more challenging. And then you can stick it down. You might still see some adhesive. You're not going to see this white on white here, but you can, if it's the HEG especially, you can usually rub away the excess. And actually that did a pretty good job. That I glued it down and I rubbed it away, and it's right here. And I know you probably can't see it that well, but I was able to get rid of the adhesive so that I can't see it. So that's a couple other options you have for attaching those flowers if you're having trouble getting a little tiny bit of glue. You could also put some glue on, put a pile of glue on your scrap paper, and you can take like a popsicle stick, or you can really use any tool as long as you clean it up right away. Like you can use your burnisher and you can pick up a little bit of glue and you can kind of paint it onto the back of your flower, and then, put it down. And then if you clean this off right away, it shouldn't stick. And if some sticks on there, it does peel off of non-porous surfaces. So hopefully one of those methods will work for you for attaching your piece of cardstock or scrap paper away. Hopefully one of those methods will work for you for attaching your flowers and not frustrate you too much. So these are our 3 cards, and that you can go ahead and make your 3 others. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to hang on for a second here in case you have any questions. And then you can, write your message on the inside. Excuse me. So the next class I have is on April 4th, and it's the trees class, the trees and homes. And let's see, move these back up so I got room to show these guys. And you'll have the option of, adding the greetings or not. If these, they're appropriate for a lot of occasions. If you don't know anybody moving into a new home, you might not want to use that greeting. So these I watercolored. So I'll show some techniques I used for watercoloring. But again, if you prefer markers or colored pencils or whatever, you can use those instead. So this is on April 4th. And then I just received my box. I haven't even opened it yet, but today I received my box from Close to My Heart. So I've got new supplies, and so I'll get some new classes on the schedule as I get a chance to play with those. And don't forget, if you want to shop, the Stamptacular sale is through the end of March. The Daisy special is through the end of March, although most of the supplies are sold out, but the Pretty Daisy stamp set is still available. That is the only stamp set that is not on sale because it's a special promotion. And then if you get a chance, press the like button or the thumbs up button. I appreciate that. And then if you have any questions, as always, feel free to contact me. Thanks so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed these cards, and I will see you again soon.